Oh, this painting here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually Steve Martin informed me that this was all painted with one stroke. That's what's amazing about it. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. A special guest here today, Charles Cackard, aka Sir Charles, aka Chuck, aka Chad, aka Sir Charlemagne. And today we're going to talk about programming. And the reason that we're here is one, we like each other, also because we're both passionate about programming. And we thought that in an effort to communicate with you guys, we would go over the next 12 weeks where there's some exciting stuff in there. We'd also talk about Overboard, which is a program, an ethos that's geared towards a certain aspect of fitness. And then we finish up with talking about some of the specifics. So generally speaking, what are we doing here?
We're increasing the wellness of our members.
Well said.
Thank you.
You know, over the last several months, I think that we've both been surprised to hear that the general consensus here is for health.
That's what we've heard, yeah.
Versus in years past where it was like, hey, scuff me up as much as you possibly can. And so based on the direction from the members, I think we've taken the program and we've changed it quite a bit. Some of those changes that jump out in your mind are what?
Well, I see balance. And this is coming from someone who programmed for the gym before. I see more balance as you look at the 6 training days we have in the week. You will see one specifically geared towards anaerobic, geared towards power, geared towards aerobic. And those are spread out. You'll get 2 doses of each week. Whereas in the past, it was maybe one day a week you'd see something just aerobic. Maybe one day a week you'd see something just power. And all the other days were anaerobic, uncomfortable metcons, which can be fun, but aren't exactly the best path towards wellness, which is what y'all want.
You know, we were saying just before the video that it's easy to, and in the years past we've done this, where every workout is 3, 2, 1, go. And it's a 15-minute AMRAP or it's 5 rounds for time. And when you leave it open-ended like that, it can make the response that someone gets completely different than maybe what somebody else gets. That coupled with TrueCoach, it's allowed us to customize for the most part exactly what we want to get out of these sessions. And so for someone who's, I won't say uneducated because that implies that they're dumb. It's not dumb, but if they haven't thought about it enough, then they haven't come to the realization that every single workout, if you're not controlling it, ends up being the same thing. Every single workout, if you're not smart, ends up being about shuttling blood, ends up being about like just trying to buffer fatigue with these movements that move loads a large distance and quickly. Whereas as you just described, where there's one day where like the target is power, there's parameters around that. We know that if we're labeling it as such, there's boundaries that we have to adhere to. And I'll be honest, like as I've been the one that's programming, even my knee jerk is, oh man, that's not enough conditioning. Oh man, that's not enough like classic CrossFit. But one of the things, just so you guys know that we've gotten out of that, is decrease in injury. I don't know if anyone, except for maybe, you know, stepping off the curve wrong or tearing a callus on the bar, has hurt themselves from working out, which is positive. But I think that you nailed it. I think the goal when we're talking health isn't to specialize in cortisol dumping or laying on the ground, writhing in pain every workout, but it's to expose ourselves to different types of energy use. And at some point we'll probably switch this up, but I think for the time being, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, and it gives us some structure amongst lots of other things that are happening outside of here that feel very random. So for sure, the program is less random than probably a typical CrossFit program. And that's by design, right? What else?
Well, I think one of the takeaways is sometimes, and even like for today, for instance, I also did overboard, but I also was left wanting more. Now, you can perceive that, I think, two different ways in general. And one is like, oh no, is this going to be this easy all the time? Or I only had a little bit to do today, and that little bit was very challenging, and I still have energy for tomorrow, which I know is going to be a different energy system, and I'll be able to attack that because I'm not going to have a hard time getting out of bed. And so even my knee-jerk reaction is, because I'm a pain junkie with training, like I love the suck of it, is like, oh no, I should do more today. But if I look to the next day and the next day and the following months going on, what is sustainable is not to beat yourself into the ground every day, but to actually leave a little bit in the tank and make sure that what we're doing each individual class is hyper focused on so that you get the most out of it. Like a 6-second negative ring dip, if you don't actually do the 4 to 6 reps and you cut down on that tempo, you're not going to get everything out of it that you actually could. So it gives you the ability to focus more so on the task at hand and still have energy for the new energy system tomorrow.
That's so good. And you know, something I was thinking about is we have lots of workouts that are very short in duration. We're talking like 10, 20 seconds. And then even some interval-based workouts where it's 3 minutes of work, all the way to some long aerobic workouts like the one on Saturday, we're expecting 30 plus minutes. Something that I don't think when I say this it'll really overwhelm you, but I think that it's true that your perceived exertion should be just right for the duration of effort. So if it's 20 seconds, you should say, oh my gosh, I'm glad that wasn't 21 seconds. If it's 3 minutes, you should say, oh my gosh, I'm glad that wasn't 3 minutes and 5 seconds. And if it's 30 minutes, it's like, God, I'm so glad that wasn't like 35 minutes. So the one thing that I would say directly to you, if you're struggling with this, is that it's possible. It's possible that the perceived exertion that you have for some of these workouts is geared for a longer duration. If you're used to the 10 to 15 minute classic CrossFit and you applied that level of exertion for 20 seconds, it's going to feel like a joke. And guess what? It is a joke.
It's a joke.
Yeah, it is a joke. We also think that if you're doing something for 20 seconds at a pace that would be more appropriate for 5 minutes, it is a joke. So some of this is a learning process, I think, on truly understanding the different gears that we have as far as energy systems go. But why don't we switch gears and talk about overboard?
Okay.
Because I think this is the first time since we've been open that these two schools of thought, general health, general physical preparedness, and then what I would call overboard is, well, I don't want to take words out of your mouth. I have some good ways to describe it, but you describe it.
Sure, yeah. It's complementary programming on top of group class that would be done during the IT or Tier 1 hours. Its aim is really more towards competitive fitness, if we're being truthful. So if the open is something that matters to you, local competitions or beyond, sanctionals, regionals, the games, this would be the track to follow, because the necessary amount of volume for a competitive athlete is beyond the necessary amount of volume for general well-being. And so it's taking, if really your goal is just to be healthy, it's going overboard. If your
It's
goal,
the perfect name. It's the perfect name.
if the goal is to be a competitive athlete, it's the appropriate amount and it's still personalized. If your goal is just to have a little more exposure to fitness and a little more exposure to the high skill stuff, maybe the muscle ups, handstand walks, and throwing a barbell around a little bit more, this is the track to follow.
And it's been going really well. I think it's been going really well. Somewhat because of the organization that we have around planning and monitoring what each person is doing. So we understand how those things coordinate, and with the inclusion of True Coach, I think we can see someone's entirety of their week and say, okay, this is what we'll do here and this is what we'll do here. And something that I'm excited about that I think a lot of programs are missing is just the customization for that. Because we can probably rattle off 10, 15 like great programs that are geared towards a really elite level of fitness, but they're all generalized.
Yes.
They're all templated.
Yeah.
And so what you're able to do, and I think for the members here and then beyond, it's take this and apply it to the same vacuum that we have everyone else, where we go through a consultation, we go through an assessment, we understand what their weaknesses are, and with those tests we know how to further customize and individualize this program for what someone needs. So I think we're really excited about that. It's relatively new, and this may be the first time that you've heard about that, but if you hear Chad talk and you think, man, you know what, it would be really cool to actually take this general fitness that I have and apply it towards something, we think this is a great option. Also, you know, we have a few gym rats that just like exercise. They just like more. They like going overboard. And so we want to let you know that if you're watching this, you have a safe place, a good home to do some of that stuff with no better captain than yourself. Yeah, I really believe that. So I think the last thing we should probably go over is what the next 12 weeks specifically will look like, at least for the group, and how we customize that. So looking back, we tried to have it balanced as far as the different movement patterns. You know, you can push, you can pull, you can squat, you can hinge, you can do stuff with a single leg. We tried to include all that. Looking forward, with the addition of some new racks in there, you'll see back squat. We did that yesterday. You'll see, what else?
We'll see some bodyweight dip progressions.
Bodyweight dip progressions. We'll see, we have this really great progression towards consecutive toes to bar, which is starting this week with a slow eccentric, which I've never programmed before.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy. So we'll continue to take our time with working the 3 different phases of the movement, which is the eccentric or slowly lowering, holding in certain positions, which will be tough, and then the actual concentric action where you're going against gravity. So we'll do that for squats. We'll do it for a ring dip. We'll do it for consecutive toes to bar. We also have a behind the neck press in there, and we're really proud of this. We don't know if you'll pick up on it, but we've done snatch grip deadlift. We've done, we're gonna do behind the neck snatch grip push press. We're gonna sequence back squat into overhead squat. And when you put all those pieces together, I think there's some...
It turns into some high skill, complex barbell movement.
It's something that you can do with all together. We're not sure what it's called. We could have just invented it. But our goal is to progress more towards things that have some speed. But for the love of God, to like progress the right way. Because I don't know about you, but the first time I learned snatch, it was like, hey, here's a PVC pipe. Okay, here's a barbell.
Yeah.
And good luck.
Yeah. And really, unless you're aiming to compete and there's a set date, there's really no hurry.
There really isn't.
And so take your sweet time with these fundamentals. Get really dialed in on them, and then you might just magically have a new PR in your squat snatch.
And we've been really stoked looking back with some of the single leg stuff to see an improvement in balance. And even as we've started to just sprinkle in some of the Olympic lifts, to me, and maybe this is just anecdotal in one of the classes I coach, but it seems like people are more stable. It seems like we're on the right path, so that's cool. So, you know, whenever you program, there's a few different categories. One category is what we just talked about, which is really starting with motor control, the ability to balance right. Then it's being able to create a little bit of stamina within the muscle, and then it's all the way to the other extreme of having this absolute contraction. So that's a whole category, and we kind of just talked about that. We have a few movements that we're excited to practicing it better at. But the other side of the equation is conditioning, or work capacity, or things where it's not just about a contraction type, but it's about producing work. And this week we have some tests, and we hope that you don't miss out on them. We have a test tomorrow. I just went blank. Oh, so it's our aerobic day, right? So if you're on the rower, we want you to row a 2K, we want you to rest, and we want you to repeat it. And we've been slowly building up in volume to these massive sets that we'll undertake. And then we have, I'm just totally drawing a blank. If you know.
Yeah, it's a 15-minute AMRAP.
15-minute AMRAP.
It's going to be 21-15-9 of 21 box jumps, 15 shoulder to overhead, and 9 toes to bar, or some variation or different reps.
And that's going to be a great one. And so we're mentioning this to you because we will retest that 15-minute AMRAP at the end of this 6 and 12 week little cycle. And then on Saturday.
Is there a 10-round workout on Saturday?
Saturday may be the test. I'm not even coaching. I think I'm just going to come up and watch because I can't think of anything more
we'll get
entertaining.
some seats put out.
It's 10 rounds, and volume and reps and variations may be different, but speaking in general terms, it's 10 rounds of a 500-meter row and then 10 burpees. And so for each one of those tests, we're testing some capacity as far as aerobics go. The AMRAP that Chad mentioned, we're looking at muscular stamina and obviously like sequencing some of these reps together. And then we'll retest them in a few weeks and we'll see how you do. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
You got anything else to add?
I think we covered all the bases.
What do you think?
It's pretty impressive.
I think that says it all. All right, well, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the gym, and we look forward to these next several weeks.